Hello everyone. So let me just see मेरी आवाज आ रही है या नहीं and then we begin. Okay. Let me just see for a second. Um, let me just see. एक बार चेक कर लेता हूँ तो मुझे पता चल जाएगा कि am I audible or not. या नहीं and then we begin. Which of the following dynasty? Okay. Let me just see for a second. I think
Hello everyone.
there's a lot of noise, right?
Let me just see. एक बार
Which of the following dynasties was not a part in the tripartite struggle, which was fought for centuries to control the prize region of Kannauj? Which of the following dynasty was not a part of it? So Rashtrakoot were part of it, Palas were part of it, and Gurjar Pratihar were part of it. Who was not part of it? Kadamba. Kadamba dynasty was not part of it. So Kadam, the dynasty that was not part of the tripartite struggle, which was which was a long political conflict fought among the Gurjar Pratihar dynasty, Pala dynasty, and the Rajputa dynasty for control over important city of Kannauj. The tripartite struggle mainly took place between the 8th and the 10th century CE and became one of the most important political conflict of the early medieval India. Kannauj had become politically prestigious and economically significant after the decline of Harsha. Control over the Kannauj was considered a symbol of the imperial authority over northern India. The Gurjar Pratihar attempted to dominate North India from western regions. The Palas tried to expand westwards from Bengal and Bihar, and Rajputas repeatedly invaded from Deccan to weaken both rivals and increase their own prestige. These three dynasties continuously fought for influence over the Gangetic Plains and Kannauj. The Kadamba dynasty was not involved in this struggle because it ruled mainly in Karnataka region of South India and remained geographically and politically separate from the conflict over Kannauj. The Kadam are mainly remembered as one of the early native dynasty of Karnataka and for their role in the early history of Deccan. So this is basically Kadam. The Kadam dynasty is not involved in tripartite. They actually originate from the Karnataka region, and they are the first native Kannada speaking dynasty. First native Kannada speaking dynasty is the Kadamba dynasty. So that is what we have to remember about them. They are not involved in any tripartite struggle. What was the tripartite struggle that went on from 8th century to 10th century CE? Core objective, why Kannauj became the geopolitical. It was the core objective was to control the Kannauj. But why did they want to control Kannauj? Because Kannauj used to be a very important city of Harshvardhan, who was the last important ruler and the last important empire of the ancient India. And he had developed Kannauj into a cultural, political, and economical hub. So after his death and after the fall of Vardhan dynasty, all of them wanted to control Kannauj. So the tripartite struggle revolved around the control of Kannauj, a city located in the middle Gangetic plain, which emerged between the 7th and the 10th century as the single most coveted center of the political power in northern India. The conflict involved three major imperial formations: the Gurjar Pratihar of the western and northern India, the Palas of the eastern India, and the Rashtrakutas of the Deccan. Although the struggle appears superficially as a dynastic contest over territory, it was in reality a much deeper geopolitical conflict concerning imperial legitimacy, agrarian extraction, control of trade arteries, strategic geography, and symbolic sovereignty over northern India. This is the most important symbolic sovereignty over the northern India because whoever controlled Kannauj was seen as an imperial leader of North India because it was the land of Harshvardhan, who was the last important ruler of ancient India in north, and he also had individuals coming from China and Persia who had written great things about him. So whoever controlled that region will be seen as a imperial leader of the north. Kannauj acquired extraordinary importance after the decline of Patliputra and collapse of Harshvardhan's empire in the 7th century. During the Mauryan and Gupta periods, Patliputra had functioned as the major political center because eastern India and middle Gangetic basin dominated imperial politics. However, several structural changes gradually shifted the geopolitical center westwards towards Kannauj. First, the ecological and agrarian expansion of the upper Gangetic Plain transformed western and central Ganga-Yamuna region into major zone of surplus production. Control over Kannauj meant access to one of the richest agrarian belt in the subcontinent. Early medieval state depended fundamentally upon agrarian revenue because military maintenance, temple patronage, land grants, and political redistribution all acquired stable extraction from peasant production. Therefore, whoever controlled Kannauj could command fertile agriculture resources, strategic river system, and dense settlement network. So this was one of the reasons. The second, Kannauj occupied an exceptionally advantageous commercial position. It stood near the intersection of the major North Indian trade routes connecting the Gangetic Basin, Rajasthan and Gujarat, the Deccan, Bengal, and northwestern India. This made Kannauj a major nodal point in the inland commerce. Goods moving between eastern India, Central Asia, western Indian ports, and peninsular region often passed through zones connected with Kannauj. Control over the city therefore carried enormous economic implications involving taxation, transit duties, mercantile production, and trade regulations. So all these are reasons why Kannauj became so important. Third, Kannauj possessed immense symbolic significance after the reign of the great Harshvardhan from 606 to 647 CE. Harsha had transformed Kannauj from a capital of a major North Indian empire Kannauj into the capital of the major North Indian empire. After after his death, the city acquired ideological prestige as the seat of the imperial sovereignty in early medieval Indian political culture. Symbolic geography mattered profoundly. Certain cities represented universal kinship and political legitimacy. Just as Patliputra symbolized Mauryan Guptan imperialism earlier, Kannauj now represented the claim to be the paramount ruler of northern India. Therefore, the tripartite struggle was not simply about controlling a prosperous city. Kannauj became a geopolitical bottleneck between the agrarian wealth, military routes, commercial network, and imperial legitimacy converged simultaneously. The dynasty holding Kannauj could claim symbolic supremacy over Aryavarth. Aryavarth is the north of India, even if actual administrative control remained fragmented. And who were the three empires or proto-empires? So Harshvardhana is considered to have had the last great empire. After his empire, all the empires were shrunken and very much smaller. Until the Sultanate period will start, all the empires will be much smaller. So that's why they are known as the proto-empire. So the three proto-empires, the first is the Gurjar Pratihar. The Gurjar Pratihar emerged in western India, particularly in Rajasthan and adjoining regions during the early 8th century. Their rise occurred partly in response to the Arab invasion following the conquest of Sindh by Muhammad bin Qasim in 711 CE. The Pratihars acquired enormous prestige because rulers like Nagbhat I successfully resisted Arab expansion into the western India. This defensive role enhanced their legitimacy among North Indian political elites. The Pratihar economic base rested heavily upon the control of western Indian trade routes, agrarian revenues from Rajasthan and the Gangetic Plain, and the access to commercial centers connected with Gujarat. So the Pratihars were very much important in the Rajasthan and the Gujarat region. So they were trying to contest for Kannauj from that side, especially under the leadership of Nagbhat I, who is a very important Pratihar ruler who has also been who has also been safeguarding the Indian territories from the Arab invasion. Arabs have already arrived. The Arabs arrived in Sindh under Muhammad bin Qasim in 711 CE. So now what Nagbhat is doing, on one front he is contesting against the Arabs and he's safeguarding the Indian territory from the Arabs. He's not allowing the Arabs to enter India. And on the other side of the border, he's contesting for Kannauj. So the Pratihar's economic base rested heavily upon the control of Western Indian trade routes. He had to control the Western Indian trade routes, the agrarian revenue from Rajasthan and Gangetic Plains, and the access to commercial center connected with Gujarat. Militarily, the Pratihar became especially famous for their cavalry forces. Arab travelers repeatedly described the Pratihar ruler as possessing one of the finest cavalry armies in India. Their access to horse trade networks through the Western India and Central Asian commercial contacts strengthened this military advantages significantly. The most prominent Pratihar rule of in the tripartite struggle included Nag Bhatt II, Mihir Bhoj, and Mahendra Pal. Among them, Mihir Bhoj became the greatest imperial figure, extending Pratihar influence across large parts of northern India, assuming titles emphasizing universal sovereignty. Then come the Palas. The Pala dynasty emerged in Bengal under the highly distinctive circumstances. Unlike many dynasties claiming ancient royal legitimacy, the founder Gopal was reportedly elected by a regional chief amid political chaos in Bengal during the mid 8th century. This reflects the fragmented political condition of the eastern India after the Gupta decline. So the Palas emerged out of the Bengal when there is said to have anarchy in the Bengal region, and all the important people of important tribes in that region elected Gopal as their leader. So he is also believed to be the first elected leader of India. The Palas derived their economic strength primarily from the fertile alluvial plains of Bengal, riverine commerce, eastern trade networks, and agrarian expansion in the lower Gangetic region. Bengal's ecological richness gave the Palas enormous agrarian resources, though distance from the western India limited their influence over the northwestern trade routes. Militarily, the Palas relied heavily upon infantry, elephant corps, and riverine mobility. Their empire stretched into Bihar and parts of Assam at different times, but projecting power consistently into the western Gangetic region proved difficult due to geographical distance and logistical strain. The greatest Pala rulers involved in the struggle were Dharampal and Devpal. Dharampal especially became a major imperial contender and temporarily established influence over Kannauj by installing subordinate rulers there. The Palas also distinguished themselves through enormous patronage of Buddhism, particularly Mahayana and Vajrayana traditions. Buddhist institutions such as Nalanda, Vikramshila, and Odantapuri received major state support under Pal rule. And then come the Rashtrakutas, who are ruling from the Deccan area. The Rashtrakutas emerged in the Deccan after overthrowing Chalukyas of Badami during the 8th century. Their core territory in the Deccan Plateau, particularly around modern Karnataka and Maharashtra. Unlike the Pratiharas and the Palas, the Rashtrakutas were geographically external to the Gangetic plain, yet they repeatedly intervened in northern politics with extraordinary military effectiveness. Their economic base rested upon Deccan agrarian revenues, control over the western coast trade, access to the Arabian Sea commerce, and the rich plateau resources. The Rajputas occupied a strategic position connecting peninsular India with the Western Indian maritime trade. Militarily, the Rajputas became famous for their highly mobile campaigns. Their Deccan location allowed them to strike northward unexpectedly through the Narmada corridor. However, distance from Kannauj created severe logistical challenge in maintaining permanent northern administration. The most important Rashtrakuta rulers involved in the struggle were Dhruva Dharvarsh, Govinda III, and Indra III. Govinda III especially achieved spectacular military successes against both Pratiharas and Palas. And then the chronological phases and turning points. The early phases: Vatsaraj, Dharampal, and Rashtrakuta intervention. The first major phase of the tripartite struggle began during the late 8th century. The Pratihara ruler Vatsaraj advanced eastward and challenged the Pala ruler Dharampal for influence over Kannauj. Dharampal initially suffered setbacks but retained eastern strength. So Dharampal is ruling from Bengal. Vatsaraj is ruling from Rajasthan and Gujarat. Vatsaraj is advancing to eastward and challenging Dharampal. Dharampal initially suffered setbacks but retained eastern strength. At this moment, Rashtrakuta ruler Dhruv Dharvarsh intervened dramatically and from the Deccan, and Dhruva defeated both Vatsaraj and Dharampal. So over Gujarat and Rajasthan side is Vatsaraj, In the Bengal is in the Pal, Dharampal, and in the Deccan area is Dhruva Dharvarsh. Vatsraj is fighting against Dharampal, and Vatsraj is defeating Dharampal. But at the same time, Dhruva Dharvarsh will enter, and he is going to defeat both Vatsraj as well as Dharampal, and he is going to annex the region. So at this moment, the Rashtrakuta ruler Dhruva Dharvarsh intervened dramatically from the Deccan. Dhruva defeated both Vatsraj and Dharampal. This established a recurring pattern within the tripartite struggle. The Rashtrakutas repeatedly invaded northern India successfully but failed to maintain the durable territorial control afterwards. The Rashtrakutas possessed tactical military superiority in many campaigns but geographically worked against the permanent occupation. The Deccan to Gangetic distance created immense logistical strain involving the troop movement, supply maintenance, communication, climate variation, and political integration. So basically, the Rajputas possessed great tactical military support, but it was hard for them to control from the Deccan region, because of which Rajputa's victory often remained militarily spectacular but administratively temporary, because they were not able to administer North India from south, from Deccan, because of which they would win militarily, they would suppress both Gurjar Pratihar and the Palas, but they will not be able to consolidate their empire in that region. Then comes Dharampal's ascendancy. After the Rashtrakuta withdrawal, Dharampal recovered politically and attempted establishing imperial authority over northern India. He installed a subordinate ruler at Kannauj and organized grand assembly attended by numerous regional chiefs. These acts represented claims of sovereignty rather than centralized bureaucratic control. This reveals an important feature of early medieval Indian politics. Imperial authority often depended more upon layered networks of subordination and symbolic acknowledgement rather than territorial administration. Nagbhat II and renewed conflict. Then comes Nagbhat II. The Pratihar ruler Nagbhat II later defeated Dharampal. So after Vatsraj, Nagbhat II is coming. Pratihar ruler Nagbhat II later defeated Dharampal and regained influence over Kannauj. However, Rashtrakut ruler Govinda III soon invaded North India again and inflicted defeat upon both major northern powers. Rajput ruler Govinda III, he will come in. So Pratihar ruler Nagbhat II will defeat Dharampal. Again, Gurjar Pratihar has defeated Pala, but then again Rashtrakuta ruler will come in, who is this time Govinda III, and soon invaded north again and inflicted defeats upon both northern powers. Govinda III's campaign demonstrated Rashtrakuta military brilliance, yet once again permanent northern occupation proved impossible because the Deccan Empire faced distance constraints. The same thing is happening again. Govinda III wins the war. Militarily it is spectacular, but again he is not able to consolidate the empire because of distance constraint. It is so far away from the Deccan India. Southern administrative obligation, he has to manage the southern part as well, which is his primary land, and a limitation in projecting a stable authority far from core territories. It is so far away from Kannauj, it is so far away from Deccan India, which is his core territory. He is not able to rule properly. And then finally, so two times the Rashtrakutas have shown their military brilliance and they have been able to dominate. They have been superior, but they have not been able to consolidate. But finally, a Gurjar Pratihar ruler will come who will be the superior this time, and his name is the great Mihir Bhoj. Mihir Bhoj is also considered as the greatest Gurjar Pratihar ruler of all time. Mihir Bhoj is going to come in now. Mihir Bhoj and the Pratihar supremacy. The struggle gradually shifted in favor of the Gurjar Pratihar under Mihir Bhoj. Bhoj consolidated extensive territories across northern India and transformed the Pratiharas into dominant North Indian power. Under Bhoj, Kannauj effectively became the Pratihar imperial center. Arab travelers described Pratihar state as one of the most powerful kingdoms in India. The Pratiharas successfully prevented further major Arab penetration into northern India while simultaneously competing against the Palas and Rashtrakutas. So Mihir Bhoj will become the most powerful ruler of North India. He will be able to consolidate Kannauj in his consolidate his administration over Kannauj. However, despite periods of dominance, no dynasty achieved stable pan-India integration. compared to Mauryas or Guptas. There will be phases, there will be one or two kings who will be able to consolidate Deccan and North, North and East, North and Deccan, but no dynasty will be able to project as strong of an empire as the Mauryas or the Guptas. Mauryas and the Guptas, they had spectacular empires. Their empires used to last from Andhra Pradesh to from Andhra Pradesh to Afghanistan. Like that's how vast their empire used to be. But these kings, they were great. Mihir Bhoj was great, but no successor of Mihir Bhoj was able to carry on his legacy. The same thing happened with Dharampal. Dharampal was a great Pal ruler, but nobody was able to match his stature. So there was no dynasty which will be as great as the Mauryas or the Guptas. The struggle remained fundamentally multipolar. It was a multipolar subcontinent at that point. Societal and economic consequences. One of the most important long-term outcome of the tripartite was acceleration of the political decentralization and feudalization across early medieval India. Constant warfare forced rulers increasingly to depend upon subordinate military chiefs. So, because they were constantly warring against each other, there was no one big war that used to determine the victor and the loser. So, what used to happen is they used to depend heavily upon the subordinate chief and the local feudal lords, local military chief, local revenue chiefs, because they constantly needed money. There was a little bit of skimmerish going around all the time, which made these feudal lords very powerful, and the central Indian empire was never able to be formed. This strengthened the Samant. Who is the Samant? The feudal lord. Samant system, in which regional lord received land grants, administrative privileges, and physical rights. So, this strengthened the Samanta system. Samanta system is the feudal lord system in which the regional lords received land grants, administrative privilege. So why will these Samant or the feudal lords help the central empire? Because they will get land, they will get administrative privilege, and they will get military responsibility. And if they are getting these two things, they have to also provide military support to the king. They will provide military support, and they will also get the right to collect revenue, physical rights, in exchange of royal and military service. Over time, these samantas became increasingly autonomous, weakening centralized political authority. Of course, when the samant will realize that the central authority is not that powerful, he will cut off his region, his territory from the central authority, and he will declare sovereignty or independence. Early medieval states therefore functioned less as tightly as bureaucratic empires and more as layered hierarchies of negotiated sovereignty. Then agrarian taxation also exchanged structurally during this period. Land grants to Brahmins, temples, military elites expanded significantly. Such grants often transported not merely land but also physical and administrative rights over peasants inhabiting those regions. So there are also land grants which are happening. Agrarian taxation also changed structurally. During the Guptas and the Maurya period, everything was centralized. But now the centralization is slowly gradually we are seeing that centralization is lost, and the feudal lords are arising. The feudal lords have all sorts of rights. They have military. They have been given right to collect revenue, which is the most important right. Once you have gotten this fiscal rights, then you can start to build your own empire. This process encouraged rural expansion, forest clearance, localization of power, and growth of agrarian hierarchies. However, it also fragmented revenue system and weakened the centralized extraction. Trade networks continued functioning despite warfare through political instability enacted over land. This is not that important. It doesn't have those much facts. Now there is also cultural and architectural legacy. Despite constant warfare, the tripartite era became one of immense cultural productivity. Competing dynasty patronized religion, hierarchy, architecture, and scholarly institutions, partly because cultural patronage reinforced imperial legitimacy. Rashtrakutas produced some of the greatest rock-cut architecture in Indian history, especially the Kailashnath temple at Ellora. So Kailashnath temple is one of the greatest monolithic monument ever built. And it was built by a Rashtrakuta ruler whose name is Krishna the First. He ordered the making of Kailashnath temple. If you ever see images of Kailashnath temple, your mind will be blown. The fact that it has been made from a single stone, a single rock rather, sorry, not a stone, a very large rock has been, this temple has been carved out of it. This monument represented extraordinary technical achievement because it was carved downwards from a single rock mass rather than constructed conventionally. Now this temple has been built from top to bottom, not from bottom to top, because it was a stone. So they started carving from the top and they kept on carving it and they built it from top to bottom. Now this is absolutely extraordinary level of engineering and architect. Whoever was the architect and engineer, they did the most incredible job that could have been done. Right. The Palas became major patrons of Buddhist learning and and artistic traditions. Pala period bronze sculptures and manuscripts strongly influenced Tibet, Nepal, Southeast Asia. Monasteries such as Nalanda and Vikramshila became globally important centers of Buddhist scholarship. So this is basically the Pratihar. You don't have to learn this much. You just have to understand that Kailashnath, for all the factual questions, just remember that Kailashnath temple at Ellora was built by the Krishna the First, and it is one of the greatest monolithic architecture. Okay. Religiously, the period witnessed strong patronage of Shaivism, Vaishnavism, Mahayana Buddhism, Tantric tradition. These were the religions that were being patronized. Historical debate and decline. Historically, scholars debate whether the tripartite struggle represented a failure of imperial integration or a structurally different model of early medieval state formation. Older historians often portrayed the period as politically fragmented compared with classical Mauryan or Gupta ages. However, modern scholarship emphasized that these states possessed sophisticated systems of regional integration, a gradient expansion, ritual sovereignty, and military mobilization. Nevertheless, prolonged struggle ultimately weakened all three empires structurally. Constant warfare drained resources while strengthening regional samantas, who gradually became semi-independent and power themselves. By the 10th and the 11th century, the Pratihar fragmented, Rashtrakuta collapsed, and were replaced by the later Chalukyas. So, Chalukyas used to be Samant or feudal lords under the Rashtrakutas, but because Rashtrakutas are not able to hold on to a large empire, they constantly have to empower the feudal lords in the name of Chalukyas. They have to constantly provide money and resources to the Chalukyas. The Chalukyas will eventually declare independence and they will form their own sovereign empire. The Palas declined under the regional pressure. This fragmentation created a major political the fragmentation created a major political vacuum across the northern and the western India. No stable, centralized imperial power remained capable of coordinating large-scale resistance against external invasion. So now external invasion has also started because the Arabs have come all the way to the Sindh in 719 CE. Um, Mahmud of Ghaznavi, he has already defeated the local rulers of the Sindh and he has expanded the Sindh. He has expanded the caliphate all the way to Sindh. So now he will also those rulers will also constantly invade, and whenever there will be a less strong ruler in the northwest, there will be a not as strong of a ruler in the northwest as Nagbhat and Mehir Bhoj. They will be able to penetrate, and that's how the Sultanate period, that's how the Islamic influence in the North India will begin. Okay. Consequently, when the Turkic powers from Central Asia began penetrating northwest India during the 11th century, especially under Mahmud of Ghazni, the political landscape remained fragmented. Regional kingdoms fought independently rather than collectively. So when Pratihars, Gurjar and Pratihars are being attacked by the powers from Central Asia, by the powers such as Mahmud of Ghazni or other Arabic rulers, there is no consolidated Indian empire. If there was a consolidated Indian empire, then they would not be able to penetrate. They were able to penetrate because Indian, the nationalist feeling was missing. They were all local rulers. So the Palas and the Rashtrakutas and the Chalukyas will feel that it is good if the Arabs are able to defeat the Gurjar Pratihar, because then we'll be able to take we'll be able to take advantage of the situation, and we'll be able to get some monetary benefit out of it. We'll be able to get some more territories out of it. They are not looking at it from the point of view of the subcontinent. They are not looking at it from the point of view that now we look at. Now, if some external power even takes 1 inch of a land from any border areas, we feel hurt as a whole nation. But earlier, that concept was missing, and because of which we will see a lot of invasions as well. Let's go. Let's go to the next question. Let me just see whether the noise problem is still there or has it gone away. And because of which we will see a lot of invasions as well. Let's go. Let's go to the. Just a second. I don't know why there is so much noise. I'll do something. Let's go on to the next question. Let's see what else do we have over here. Um, Money Makeley describes the story of Money Makeley describes the story of which of the following? Is the voice problem is still there? I'll have to see. Let's go on to the next one. What else do we have over here? Um, Money Makeley describes the story of Money Makeley describes the story of. I don't know why there's just a problem. Hmm. Let's let's see. I don't know why there's a problem. I don't know whether the problem is gone now or not. Let's see. Has it? Let's see. Let's see for a while. Money Makeley describes the story of which of the following? Kovalan and Madhavi's daughter. Kovalan, wife Madhavi. Kovalan's first wife Kannagi. Kovalan and Madhavi's son. Money Makeley is about what? Money Makeley is a story of. Money Makeley is the name of the daughter of Kovalan and Madhavi. So Money Makeley describes the story of Kovalan and Madhavi's daughter. Money Makeley describes the story of Kovalan and Madhavi's daughter. Money Makeley is a famous Tamil Buddhist epic that describes the story of the daughter of Kovalan and Madhavi. The work is considered as one of the most important literary composition of Tamil literature and form parts of the great tradition of Sangam literature. The epic was composed by Satyanar and is regarded as one of the five great epics of Tamil literature. Money Makeley is closely connected with earlier Tamil epic Silpadikaram, which narrates the story of Kovalan and his wife Kannagi. According to the story, Kovalan later developed a relationship with the famous character Madhavi, and from this relationship, a daughter named Money Makeley was born. So Money Makeley was born from the relationship that Kovalan had with Madhavi, who was a dancer, in the court. Right, you remember? The epic Money Makeley focuses on the life and spiritual journey of this daughter. Unlike ordinary royal romantic narratives, The text strongly reflects Buddhist philosophy. So this text is particularly about the Buddhist philosophy. It is not a love story or anything. It is about the Buddhist journey of Mani Mekalai, who is the daughter of Kovalan and Madhavi. Who is Kovalan and Madhavi's
Royal romantic
daughter?
narratives.
Problem is still there, yeah. I don't know why. Hmm. Audio problem is very much there. I don't know what I have to do to cure the audio problem now. I'll have to see. Is the audio problem fixed now? That constant noise, na?
Audio problem now. I have audio problem.
The constant noise is very much there. I don't know how to fix this because I have connected the microphone properly and everything is there. But that background constant tick 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 tick, that is of course creating a lot of disturbance for anyone who's listening to these lectures, and I don't want that to be there. I want it to be cured. Let's see whether it is cured now. I've changed the microphone's position. So we are at Silpadikaran, which narrates the story of Kovalan and his wife Kannagi. According to the story, Kovalan later developed a relationship with famous dancer Madhavi, and from this relationship, a daughter named Mani Mekalai was born. Mani Mekalai was born as the daughter of Kovalan and Madhavi. Right? The epic Mani Mekalai focuses on the life and journey, a spiritual journey of daughter. The epic Mani Mekalai focuses on life and spiritual journey of this daughter. Unlike ordinary royal or romantic narratives, the text strongly reflects on Buddhist philosophy. Mani Mekalai eventually renounces worldly life and becomes devoted to Buddhism. The work emphasizes ideas such as compassion, morality, renunciation, non-violence, charity, and liberation from worldly desires. All these things have been noted down in Mani Mekalai. Also, the text is historically very important. Why is it historically very, very important? The text is historically very important because it provides a valuable information about society during the Sangam age, Buddhism in South India, maritime trade, urban centers, religious belief, social customs, Tamil culture. The epic also reflects the interaction between the different religions, traditions such as Buddhism, Jainism, and Hinduism in ancient Tamil society. Manimekalai remains one of the most important sources for understanding the religious and cultural history of early South India and demonstrates influence of Buddhism in Tamil region during the post-Sangam period. The other options are incorrect because Madhavi was not the wife of Kovalan. Kannagi was Kovalan's wife. Madhavi was not his wife, Kannagi was Kovalan's wife, but the epic does not narrate her daughter's story. And Mani Mekalai was the daughter of Kovalan and Madhavi and not their son. Of course, Mani Mekalai is the daughter of
Madhvi was right, particular Copeland, right? But the epic does not narrate her daughter's story. Anime.
that sound is still there, no? That sound is very much every time I think I'm speaking, the that sound is coming from background and most probably it is some mic problem or systems problem. I don't know, but I'll have to fix it somehow. The problem is what is causing this constant tick noise. I'll have to see. Is it some system setting which is causing this problem? If somebody is watching this video, please let me know. How can I improve it? Hmm. I don't have that much information regarding this, but I don't want that noise to be there. Of course, it is causing a lot of trouble. Even I'm feeling weird making this lecture and that constant tick noises.
Somebody is watching this video, please let me know. How can I feel weird?
Hmm. That noise is still there and that shouldn't be. What can I do? What can I do with this? I don't think it has to do with anything with hardware, probably. Or does it? Let me put it somewhere else. Let's change the positioning of the mic and let's see what's happening. The text historically is important because it provides valuable information about various things in the Sangam age. It is about the Sangam period, right? Silpadikaram in the great Chola port city. So what we'll do, we'll study Silpadikaram as well as Manimekalai. Both of the stories are important. Silpadikaram is written by another ruler, and Silpadikaran is written by another scholar, and Manimekalai is written by someone else. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't have to do with external noise. I think it is the mic is causing this tick 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 sound within. It has nothing to do with outside voices. Uh, this is being caused by the mic, and unfortunately, let's see what is causing this problem. Hello. Hello, can you hear me? Let's see what is causing this issue. I hope somehow I end up finding a cure. When the mic is also new, then also this problem is there. I could have understood if the mic was like old and this problem was there. But even when the mic is new, let's see what's going on. Is the issue resolved? The mic is also like old. I have to do something with the tick tick sound, yeah. It's really problematic. I hope that the issue is resolved. I don't know. So let's try for a while again. If the issue is resolved, then it's okay. If it is not resolved, then I'll have to figure it out. Sound, yeah. I'll have to see. Let me see if the issue is gone. How to resolve this? Hmm. Let's see. Let's see if ChatGPT has anything. Hmm. I'll try to solve it first, and then I'll uh, start